Frontrunner Bernie Sanders coming under fire for recent comments praising parts of the communist regime in Cuba. Joining us right now is House Financial Services Committee member Congressman Roger Williams. Congressman, thanks very much for being here this morning. You're going to be speaking tomorrow at the Conservative Political Action Conference, the CPAC, about the threat of socialism. I mean, Bernie Sanders complimenting Cuba and the way it approaches things and Fidel Castro. Can you explain this? How do you see it?
Well, I think the only way you can say it is Bernie's a socialist. There's no question about it. But the idea that America would turn into a socialistic nation is not. It's just not going to happen. I mean, risk and reward built this country. Socialism, look, it can give you a job maybe, but it's not going to give you net worth. And Bernie's on the wrong side, and I think if he gets the nomination, Americans will have a great opportunity to decide which way they want to go with President Trump, talking about capitalism and free markets.
Congressman, you sit on the House Financial Services Committee with some other social democrats, notably Congresswoman AOC. How do you talk to your colleagues about this issue? Is there a conversation in the House that this is the way the country needs to move forward? And what are House Republicans doing to combat that vision?
Well, there's not much of a conversation because both sides are divided, but what we as conservatives can do is to explain capitalism. I mean, capitalism is risk and reward. Capitalism is investing 100, losing 100, making 100. Capitalism is creating net worth among people. It's gaining value, and of course, when we gain value, like we're seeing now with the economy like it is, America gains value. So it's a pretty distinct vision, whether you want to be Venezuela, whether you want to be Cuba, whether you want to be Russia, or whether you want to be America. I think we got to do better, and in talking about that to a lot of the younger people, 18 to 29-year-olds, need to understand capitalism is the answer, not socialism, not communism, quite frankly.
I think that's the challenge with my generation, certainly, because they didn't grow up during the USSR. They didn't grow up seeing this. Now, you would think, you raised a good point about Venezuela. That is a good example of how socialism governs in a country. You have bread lines, you have no bread at all, you have people who are starving in the streets. How do we draw that contrast, though? You're going to be doing that at CPAC this week for young people. Right. Do you think that's a message that young people are receiving?
Well, I hope so, but we can't give up on the young people. And look, throughout history, it's kind of been said when you're 18 to 29, you're kind of on the side of maybe free things, on everything being average. But when you get to be 30, you kind of wake up and say, well, I'm married, I got a family, I need to make some money. Capitalism checks in. Yeah. But I think, too, that, I think that the message needs to be that, again, like I say, socialism doesn't create net worth, it can create a job, but capitalism does.
Well, what should we think about the conditions of some of these candidates, frankly? I mean, you've got a situation here where Joe Biden forgets what he's saying umpteen times. Last night, I don't know if you caught that, when he said, why am I stopping? I think he was stopping because he forgot what he was saying. And this is a very serious situation, Congressman. I know, Dagan, that Joe Biden has discussed in the past that he had a brain aneurysm. I have sources who are telling me actually he has 2 brain aneurysms. Do you believe, Congressman, before I get to you, Dagan, that this should be disclosed as a presidential candidate?
Well, everybody wants President Trump to disclose his health. In the past, presidents have had, and candidates have disclosed their health. I'm certainly not a doctor. I'm a capitalist, but I think we need to know the health of those that want to be president. Joe Biden has forgot a lot of things. I mean, all of a sudden he's turned hard left, when in his history he was actually standing in some areas that we might agree with. So they're just trying to get elected to a group. Yeah. It's not going to work. President Trump will get his message out there, and I think at the end of the day we'll have 4 more years of a great economy, low interest rates, and opportunities for people to create net worth and create jobs.
But Dagan, this is a really important point. I don't think most people understand that Joe Biden had a brain aneurysm, has a brain aneurysm, and my sources say he has actually 2.
He suffered 2. One was he underwent, it was a burst aneurysm in 1988 when he was a senator, and he almost died. It required him to undergo emergency surgery at the time, and in fact, he was a priest was preparing to administer the Catholic sacrament of last rites. He was so close to death, and then a second aneurysm was clipped before it burst shortly after that. This was in '88, though, and his neurosurgeon came out last year after he declared his candidacy, saying that he was in good health. But Bernie Sanders has the same issue. He just had a heart attack, and if inaugurated, if he won the nomination in the White House, he'd be 79 when he was inaugurated. inaugurated, which is 2 years older than Ronald Reagan, the oldest sitting president in American history, 2 years older than when Reagan left office. So it's not ageism. These are just questions about a health of somebody who is in their late 70s.
And running for president.
Right.
I mean, I think it's extraordinary, actually, Congressman, what you just said, that the critics of the president are constantly asking him for his medical records. And meanwhile, you've got two presidential candidates here with questionable situations. As Dagan just said, Bernie Sanders had a heart attack, and Joe Biden has 2 brain aneurysms.
Well, I mean, this is what they're putting out there to be president. This is as good as they got. We don't know who their candidate's going to be. We know who ours is going to be. But when you run for president, when you run for the highest office in the land, I think that people should understand your capacities.
Yeah.
And we certainly know President Trump's capacity, so let's see what they come with and what they can offer.
Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much for weighing in on all of this. Always a pleasure to have you, sir. Roger Williams joining us this morning in D.C.